What's up, world? High Definition here, bringing you a somewhat interesting update on Marvel's Avengers. More specifically, the most information about the game that we've ever got from a developer in a long time. But before we get to that, don't forget to drop a like on this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell for more content like this. With that, let's talk about what was said. Over the start of the weekend, one of the designers for Avengers, Brian Wagner, spoke out on Twitter to players continuing to ask about the game's roadmap. I saw this conversation over here on this subreddit, and if you do end up visiting that, I'll go ahead and leave that in the video description below. You can basically see the amount of people that have been sympathetic about Brian's response, which is pretty crazy. We've been waiting so long. You'd think a lot of people would be hostile or whatever at this point. But let me just go ahead and read this out to you. I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts afterwards. It started with this user on Twitter, Assault Gaming 66 on Twitter. He was saying, "Roses are red, April is gray, but in a few weeks, a roadmap will come our way." Did I get that right? So, very, very cheeky response from Assault Gaming there. And Brian definitely did a very good response. I gotta say, it could have went way worse. And he did a good job with it. So this is what Brian said. He said, "Since I continue to get roadmap win tweets, roadmap announcements are covered by our brand/comms team. I don't have any info on when that might happen. My job is to keep planning and designing what is next and have been hard at work doing that." Then Brian goes on to continue, "I also see the tweets about frustration over more Taskmaster villain sectors. I get it. And I agree. We need more/wider variety of villains. Part of what I'm doing right now is finding ways for us to create a quicker/more sustainable villain/enemy pipeline." So it's cool that Brian is actually speaking out about, the villain sectors, too many Taskmasters, where's Crossbones? So he's pretty much laying it out right here. He goes on to continue saying, also, there is a lot of planning going on internally right now. Some short term, what is in 2.4 and 2.5. And for reference, we're in 2.3 coming next week, by the way, as I'm making this video. Medium term planning this year and prelim long term planning past 2022. So it looks like Brian and the team, they definitely still have plans, past 2022. That's to say, they don't know when the rug will be snatched up under them. Always their bosses don't have to say anything. They could get laid off at any point, but it's good to see that the developers want to keep this train going and continuing, and that's good. And Brian continues, he says, "I know it may be hard to see/understand that since we focus on discussing plans once they are locked in. The more economical we can be in building said content, the more content we can build. So it's not just what's next, but it's about setting us up to keep building content for the long term, which I think we all want to see happen." He goes on to continue, "Planning isn't just us picking what we want to do either. It's about figuring out how we make that content, what resources we need to make that content, what the costs are to make that content, and how we can fund making that content." So wow, definitely a lot of factors going into developing this game that people do not get to see often. Brian on Twitter goes on to ask Brian, "Hey Brian, I don't know if you can confirm it or not, but since 2.3 has a release date, are there any bug fixes tied specifically to the raid we can expect in it?" And he goes on to say stuff about the Sonic barrier, stuff like that. Game breaking raid stuff. Fair questions. And Brian goes on to say, "Yes, 2.3 will have potential fixes for most of these common raid issues. I say potential because we haven't had a lot of luck reproducing these issues internally. So we're taking our best stab at root causes. So if you don't know what that means, basically, people say they have bugs, and you have a lot of other players might say, I'm not experiencing said bugs, in the raid. That's pretty much what he's saying. The developers kind of have trouble checking out stuff like that because they don't really run into those problems like most other players are, but they are looking into that, which is good to hear. And Brian goes on to continue saying, I'm more than happy to discuss process as much as I can on this, since I know it can be a black box for most of you. Before I joined this team, and especially before I was put in charge of design, I'm a fan of the game first and foremost. I want to make awesome stuff for you. And if you guys don't know, this is Brian Wagner. He's definitely an interesting factor to have in the development team because he is actually from the development team of Marvel Heroes. And if you don't know about Marvel Heroes, I suggest you take a Google once you get done with watching this video and check it out. But yeah, Brian looks like he's speaking a lot from the heart here, and I definitely appreciate that, and it's good to see that developers caring about the game. And we have Daniel Agbogidi on Twitter. He ended up talking to Brian also. He said, "This is a great read. Posts like this, in my opinion, are on par with or exceed some of the weekly dev updates." And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And Brian goes on to say, I'm glad they help. However, I'm not an official communication channel for the game, so I need to be careful about what I can/cannot disclose. Any new info really needs to come from our official channels so the most people can see it. I'm just an idiot talking about process. Now from what Daniel said, with his response to Brian, you can kind of guess how others felt about this developer response. I personally feel that communication like this is always welcome for a gaming community, especially a live service one at that. But it's pretty much the reason why I felt the need to make this video. Pretty much what Daniel said, and what other people on the subreddit are saying about this post as well, to show that yes, the developers are listening more than we even possibly realize. But this question's for you though. Did this developer response make you feel a little better about the game's future? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed this thing, subscribe to this superhero squad, and ring the bell for more nerdy content. Until next time, true believers.